So, Power Rangers Universe issue 4 out of 6. I gotta say, straight off the bat, I really enjoyed this issue. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed this issue with what it presented, the lore, the origins of the very first Morpher, and finally, after what seems like forever of waiting, we finally get to see the legendary Squadron Rangers morphing for the very first time. So we finally get to see the comic adaptation of the Dairanger suit, something that was teased before this comic even came out. So we finally see it here, and it is confirmed we do see the Dairanger suits in this comic. So let's start from the beginning and talk about Power Rangers Universe issue number 4. So the issue picks up where we last left off, with our heroes taking refuge in a bunker along with the Morphonaut, and it seems like using these powers are having a serious effect on these heroes because they look really banged up from using these powers. Their noses are bleeding, they've got bruised faces, like they haven't fully learned how to control these powers. Not only that, we also get the revelation that these powers might be killing them because they don't know how to control them properly with how they're tapping into the morphin grid. So each time they morph, they're slowly killing themselves bit by bit and being ripped from pieces. So there is a side effect on using these powers. And from what Ori says, I believe, these powers might only have about 1 or 2 charges left. So they've got to use these powers very carefully, and they can't just use them willy-nilly. So after that, we then cut to the bad guy's base, and one of the minions, who is speaking a weird alien language, I don't know what he's saying, but he's probably going, I don't know why I did that, but yeah, we meet the main bad guy, the main general villain. I have no idea who this guy is. He probably serves Dark Spectre, but he finds out that the Rangers had a bunch of suits, so he wants to see these suits for himself because they connect to the morphin grid, and goes to take the fight directly to our heroes. So after that page, we then get another weird page, which it's the parents of our heroes sort of talking to the Morphin Masters, and I can't really make out which Morphin Master is which. Maybe Praetor is there, maybe this is the era when Praetor was a Morphin Master, I'm not entirely sure, but the main dude that they're talking to is some dude with a big old beard.
A great big bushy beard!
But the parents are saying they need to open the Master Raj for their children because it looks like they won't be able to get back home with everything going on. So that plea doesn't go well with them, and it sucks that this is the only time we see the Morphin Masters in this issue because we sort of see the council of them, and unfortunately they get denied. So after that, you then have the Morphonaut and Ori having this conversation, this heart-to-heart together, where Ori says they feel guilty that their friends have had nothing but faith in them, and look where it's gotten everyone. It looks like they're probably going to die. They're sort of pushed into a corner where using these powers it's almost gotten them killed. So they kind of feel guilty about everything that's been happening lately. And then after that, you then have the big bad guy putting a message on the screen calling out our heroes, saying he wants nothing but the Arch, surrender, and you get to live, resist, and you're gonna die. So it's that big villain speech, and the Rangers are ready to battle. Everyone's ready to battle. And the Morphonaut, being the reckless guy that he is, and after the big speech he just had with Ori about doing things alone, he goes out there to fight the big bad by himself. Once again, being reckless and feeling like this is his problem, he just wants the others to go back to their families. So, once again, the Morphonaut being the reckless hero that he is in this comic. But the other Rangers aren't going to have any of that, and what they do is they decide to jump into battle as well against this enemy. So one thing I do like about our heroes jumping into battle is they're not going to morph for this fight because they know about the repercussions and how it could kill them. So what they do is they just pick up a bunch of objects and decide to use everyday weapons, their blasters, their pistols, to fight off the minions and the main bad guy to defend the Morphonaut. But there's one interesting line from the big bad in this comic, and that's when he turns on his little speeder bike, he looks at the Morphonaut and says, "So it is you, or some kind of phantom of you." And that made me sort of like clap and applaud. I was like, haha, I got that reference. Because, you know, we all kind of know that the Morphinaut is going to turn into the Phantom Ranger at the end of this series. How it's going to happen, we don't know, but I can guess that this comic is going to end with the Morphinaut getting the power ruby and his suit turning from white to black at the end of this comic. So we should keep that in mind. But that bit of dialogue is very interesting, where he calls the Morphinaut some kind of phantom or some kind of ghost. So maybe it seems like this character has been dead for thousands of years and now he's just only resurfaced. And that history is apparent because it seems like the big bad in this comic knows who the Morphinaut is and is surprised that the Morphinaut is working with a team and saying that's very different of him because he always worked alone. So these two characters fight head to head, and in the midst of the battle, things aren't looking good for the Morphinaut or our heroes, where it seems like they need to use their brand new powers. So this is the interesting part. So last month I talked about how there was a badge created to sort of control their powers. In this issue, that badge makes its grand return and it turns into the Dairanger symbol we see on their chest. And one could argue that this is the very first morpher ever created. It even gets a name called a morpher, where Ori says, hey, I call them morphers. So we get to see the debut of the very first morpher in this comic, because a lot of people are asking who created the morphers, what are the morphers about? Well, this is the history behind them. Although there are other Ranger teams out there, who knows if this is the first morpher out there, but apparently it seems like this is the first morpher out there. So our Rangers, with their brand new morphers, use their brand new morphers and morph into the legendary Squadron Rangers, and that's where the issue ends. And I gotta say, when our heroes morph, we get that awesome 2-page spread of all our characters morphing with their morphers in the center of the page, and you've got that lightning and glowing effect around it. That looks really cool. And then when you finally get to see a morph, it's really surreal to see the Dairanger Rangers finally appearing in this comic, or the Legendary Squadron Rangers, whatever you want to call them. Now, I'm hoping we get to see a better look at the Black Ranger, because I don't know what he's going to be based on with his design and stuff like that, because all the Rangers have their helmets based on what their Zords are, if I believe correctly. So I do wonder what his helmet is based on. It's not entirely sure or confirmed yet, but I'm sure we'll find out something later down the line in this comic. But either way, this was a really cool moment in the comic, and I enjoyed it quite a fair bit, because I got the feeling that we were building up towards the Dairanger powers being used, and lo and behold, it happened, and I feel like the moment did pay off in this comic. So anyway guys, I really enjoyed this issue of Power Rangers Universe. I thought it was a solid issue. I am curious to see how this story is going to end and what the end game is for this comic and what it's going to lead into other things happening in the Power Rangers universe, if it's going to tie together with stuff going on in the comics right now and a bunch of other stuff and stuff like that. So I do wonder what the end game for this comic is, but overall, I think I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I feel like once this comic is in trade paperback form, it's going to be a lot more easier to consume than reading it month to month. But apart from that, like I said, I'm enjoying this issue. I'm enjoying this comic so far, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. So with that said, I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. Special thanks to all the members such as Swaggerthorn, Andrew McCoyle, and the Power Bunny, who was a $30 member. If you want to get your name shouted out like these guys over here, hit the join button or become a YouTube member for special perks and stuff like that on the channel. With that said, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day or night, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out, take care. Bye.